Hello, listeners. Welcome to The Planet Scientist.
Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this with me. You're standing on a quiet beach at midnight. The moon hangs like a silver coin in the star-scattered sky, casting its gentle light across the sand beneath your bare feet. The air is warm and carries the soft whisper of salt and seaweed. You walk closer to the water's edge, where small waves lap rhythmically against the shore. But something extraordinary catches your eye. As each wave rolls in and breaks, it glows with an ethereal blue-green light, as if the ocean itself has been touched by stardust. You step into the shallow water, and with each movement of your feet, brilliant trails of light swirl around you like liquid starlight. This isn't magic, though it feels like it. This is bioluminescence, one of nature's most enchanting phenomena. Tonight, we're going to explore this magical world together, where living creatures create their own light, painting the darkness with colors that seem borrowed from dreams. Why does nature glow in the dark? What purpose does this beautiful light serve? And how do tiny organisms create illumination more efficient than any light bulb humans have ever invented? As we journey together through glowing oceans, twinkling forests, and the fascinating science behind nature's light show, let yourself relax. Let your breathing slow. Let the wonder of these glowing creatures wash over you like those luminous waves on our imaginary beach. The natural world is full of gentle mysteries, and bioluminescence is perhaps the most beautiful of all. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin our peaceful exploration of the magical world of bioluminescence. What is bioluminescence? Bioluminescence. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? When you break it down, it becomes even more lovely. Bio means life, and luminescence means giving off light. So bioluminescence simply means living light. Light created by living things. But how do living creatures make their own light? It seems almost impossible when you think about it. We need electricity and bulbs and heat to create light. Yet a tiny firefly can create its own gentle glow without any of these things. The secret lies in a beautiful chemical dance that happens inside these glowing creatures. Picture this. Deep within the cells of bioluminescent organisms, there are special molecules with enchanting names. There's luciferin, named after Lucifer, the light bearer, which acts like a candle waiting to be lit. Then there's luciferase, an enzyme that acts like the match that lights the candle. When luciferin meets luciferase in the presence of oxygen, something magical happens. The luciferin gets excited. Literally, its electrons jump to higher energy levels. But like all things in nature, it wants to return to its peaceful, resting state. As it does, it releases that extra energy as light, pure, gentle, beautiful light. What makes this light even more remarkable is that it's what we call cold light. Unlike the light bulbs in your home, which waste most of their energy as heat, bioluminescent light is nearly 100% efficient. No heat is wasted. It's just pure, cool illumination. Nature's perfect lighting system. This process happens in creatures all around our world, from the deepest ocean trenches to the fireflies dancing in your backyard on summer evenings. Each creature has evolved its own special version of this light-making recipe, creating different colors, different intensities, and different patterns of glow. Some creatures glow blue-green, like the ocean waves we imagined. Others shine with golden yellows, soft reds, or even pale purples. Each color tells a story, serves a purpose, and adds to the symphony of light that plays out in nature's theater every single day and night. As we continue our journey, we'll discover how these living lights serve as nature's communication system, defense mechanism, and art form all at once. Bioluminescent creatures of the ocean. Let's dive beneath the surface now into the vast, mysterious realm of the ocean. If you could shrink down and swim through the depths, you'd find yourself in the most spectacular light show on Earth. The deep ocean, where sunlight has never touched, is actually alive with light. The soft, ethereal glow of countless bioluminescent creatures. Imagine floating in the midnight zone of the ocean, hundreds of meters below the surface. Here, in what seems like endless darkness, jellyfish drift by like living chandeliers. Crystal jellies pulse with rings of blue light around their bell-shaped bodies, moving through the water like slow-motion fireworks. When threatened, they can flash their lights in brilliant displays, confusing predators and creating underwater auroras. The light comes from bioluminescent bacteria that live in a special organ called a photophore. It's a beautiful partnership. The bacteria get a safe home, and the anglerfish gets a living flashlight to attract unsuspecting prey. Picture the Hawaiian bobtail squid, no bigger than your thumb, settling into the sandy ocean floor for the day. As sunlight filters down from above, this clever little creature adjusts the brightness of its belly lights to match the moonlight and starlight from above. To any predator looking up from below, the squid becomes invisible, perfectly camouflaged against the night sky by its own living light. In the open ocean, vampire squid, despite their frightening name, create some of the most beautiful displays. When startled, they eject clouds of glowing particles like underwater fireworks, creating a dazzling distraction while they escape into the darkness. Each tiny particle glows for several minutes, creating temporary constellations in the deep sea. The ocean's bioluminescent creatures use their light for many purposes. Some, like the anglerfish, use it to hunt. Their glowing lures are like neon restaurant signs in the darkness, advertising a meal to hungry creatures. Others use light for defense, creating brilliant flashes to startle predators or clouds of glowing particles to confuse them. Many deep-sea creatures use bioluminescence to find love. In the vast darkness of the ocean, light becomes a love letter. Male and female organisms flash specific patterns to identify their species and attract mates. It's like a gentle Morse code of romance, written in living light across the ocean's depths. Perhaps most beautifully of all, some creatures use their light simply to communicate, to say, "I'm here," to others of their kind in the endless blue. In a world without sunlight, these living lights create communities, connections, and conversations that span the ocean's depths. As you imagine yourself floating among these glowing creatures, notice how their light isn't harsh or mechanical. It's soft, organic, alive. It pulses with the rhythm of life itself, creating an underwater symphony of light that has been playing for millions of years, long before humans ever dreamed of making light of our own. Tides that glow, marine plankton. Now, let's return to the surface, to those magical glowing waves we imagined at the beginning of our journey. This phenomenon, beloved by beach walkers and night swimmers around the world, is created by some of the tiniest organisms on our planet, marine plankton, called dinoflagellates. These microscopic creatures are so small that millions of them can exist in just a single cup of seawater. Yet together, they create one of nature's most breathtaking spectacles. Picture each dinoflagellate as a tiny lantern, no bigger than a pinhead, floating peacefully in the ocean. When these little organisms are disturbed by a wave, a paddle, a swimmer's hand, or even a fish swimming by, they respond with light. It's as if the ocean itself is breathing stars. Each disturbance triggers millions of these tiny lights to flash simultaneously, creating the illusion that the waves are made of liquid starlight. The light these creatures produce is usually a beautiful blue-green, the color of tropical lagoons, or the deepest part of a peacock's feather. Scientists believe they create this light as a defense mechanism. When a predator tries to eat them, the sudden flash of light may startle the attacker or attract an even larger predator that might eat their would-be predator. It's nature's version of a panic button, and it happens to be absolutely beautiful. There are magical beaches around the world where you can witness this phenomenon. In the Maldives, visitors often discover that their footsteps leave glowing trails in the sand as they walk along the shore at night. The water disturbed by their feet lights up like stepping stones made of stars. Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico is famous for its year-round bioluminescent display. On dark nights, kayakers can paddle through water that glows with every stroke of their paddle, creating trails of light that follow their boats like liquid comets. Imagine swimming in such waters on a warm night. Every movement of your arms and legs would create swirls of light around you. You would become a constellation yourself, painting patterns of luminescence in the dark water. The gentleness of it all, the soft light that doesn't hurt your eyes, the way it responds to your touch like the ocean is acknowledging your presence. Sometimes entire waves will light up as they crash against the shore, creating what looks like rolling thunder made of light instead of sound. Dolphins have been seen playing in these bioluminescent waters, their sleek bodies creating trails of blue-green light as they surf the glowing waves, as if they too are enchanted by this natural magic. The beauty of bioluminescent plankton reminds us that magic. As we continue our journey, carry with you this image of the ocean breathing light, of waves that glow with the collective dreams of millions of tiny creatures, each one adding its own small light to illuminate the darkness. Let's leave the ocean behind for now and step onto dry land, into a warm summer evening in a meadow or forest. Here, away from the waves and tides, we find an entirely different kind of magic, the gentle, dancing lights of fireflies. Fireflies, or lightning bugs as they're sometimes called, are perhaps the most beloved of all bioluminescent creatures. There's something deeply peaceful about watching their soft yellow-green lights blink on and off as they float through the twilight air like tiny fallen stars that learn to fly. Picture yourself lying on a blanket in a field at dusk, looking up at the sky as the first stars begin to appear. Around you, fireflies begin their evening dance. Each light lasts only a moment, a gentle flash that says, "I'm here, I'm alive, I'm looking for love." The males fly through the air, flashing their coded messages, while females perched on leaves and grass respond with their own glowing replies. What makes this even more magical is that different species of fireflies have their own unique flashing patterns, their own love languages written in light. Some flash quickly in short bursts, others glow for longer moments, and some even create complex rhythmic patterns. Scientists have discovered that these light conversations are incredibly specific. Each species recognizes its own kind by the timing and pattern of their bioluminescent messages. In some parts of the world, certain species of fireflies synchronize their flashing, creating entire forests that pulse with light in perfect unison. Imagine thousands of fireflies all flashing together, turning entire trees into gentle beacons that throb with the rhythm of nature's heartbeat. But fireflies aren't the only land creatures that glow. Deep in forests around the world, certain mushrooms and fungi create their own ethereal light. These glowing fungi, sometimes called foxfire or fairy fire, cast a soft green glow that can make entire fallen logs or forest floors look like they're lit from within by gentle spirits. Scientists believe these glowing mushrooms use their light to attract insects, which then help spread the fungus's spores to new locations. It's a beautiful partnership. The mushroom provides a gentle beacon in the darkness. In caves around the world, you can find glowworms, the larvae of certain flies and beetles that create tiny points of light on cave ceilings. These patient creatures hang silk threads down from their glowing bodies like luminous fishing lines, catching tiny flying insects that are drawn to their light. Cave visitors often describe the experience as lying beneath a starry sky, even though they're deep underground. Some of the most spectacular glowworm displays can be found in caves in New Zealand, where thousands of these tiny lights create underground galaxies on the cave ceilings. Visitors float silently through these caves on boats, looking up at what appears to be a field of stars reflected on the surface of an underground lake. What's beautiful about terrestrial bioluminescence is how it transforms familiar landscapes into wonderlands. A forest path that seems ordinary during the day becomes a fairy tale setting at night when fungi glow softly among the fallen leaves. A summer meadow becomes a dance floor where fireflies waltz through the grass. These land-dwelling light-makers remind us that magic isn't confined to the mysterious depths of the ocean. It's right here around us, in our backyards and local parks, waiting for the sun to set so it can begin its gentle show. The science of the glow. Now let's pause in our journey to appreciate the elegant science behind these living lights. The more we understand how bioluminescence works, the more magical it becomes, like learning the poetry behind a beautiful song. Remember our friends luciferin and luciferase from earlier? Let's imagine them as dance partners in the most efficient ballroom in nature. When luciferin encounters luciferase in the presence of oxygen, they begin their molecular dance. The luciferin molecule gets energized, literally lifted to a higher energy state, and then, as it settles back down to its resting state, it releases that energy as a photon of light. What makes this dance so remarkable is its efficiency. When you turn on a light bulb in your home, only about 10% of the energy becomes light. The other 90% is wasted as heat. That's why light bulbs get hot when they've been on for a while. But bioluminescent creatures have mastered something we're still trying to perfect. They create light that's nearly 100% efficient, with almost no heat produced at all. Think about that for a moment. A tiny firefly, no bigger than your fingernail, has solved an engineering problem that humans have been working on for over a century. Their light is what scientists call cold light, pure illumination without the waste. Different creatures have evolved different colors of bioluminescence, and each color tells a story about how and where that creature lives. Blue and blue-green light travels farthest in water, which is why most deep-sea creatures glow in these colors. It's like they've naturally discovered the most efficient wavelength for underwater communication. On land, fireflies often glow yellow-green because this color is most visible to other fireflies in their forest and meadow environments. Some deep-sea creatures have evolved red bioluminescence, a color that most deep-sea creatures can't even see, making it like a secret flashlight that only they can use. The chemistry behind these lights varies beautifully from creature to creature. Some organisms make their own luciferin, while others get it from their food. Some creatures have formed partnerships with bioluminescent bacteria, carrying these tiny light makers in special organs and providing them with food and shelter in exchange for their glow. What fascinates scientists is how evolution has repeatedly discovered bioluminescence. It's not something that evolved once and spread. It's been invented independently by different groups of organisms at least 40 different times throughout Earth's history. It's as if nature keeps rediscovering the beauty and usefulness of making light. The energy for this light comes from a molecule called ATP, the same molecule that powers all life on Earth. When creatures create bioluminescent light, they're essentially converting the energy they get from food directly into photons. It's one of the most direct energy conversions in nature. Scientists have discovered that the intensity and duration of bioluminescent flashes can be controlled with remarkable precision. Some creatures can produce brief, intense flashes lasting only milliseconds, while others can maintain a steady glow for hours. Some can even control the color of their light, shifting from blue to green to yellow like living mood rings. The temperature independence of bioluminescence is another marvel. While most chemical reactions slow down in cold temperatures, bioluminescent reactions can work efficiently even in the near-freezing waters of the deep ocean. This is why we can find glowing creatures thriving in the coldest, darkest parts of our planet. Perhaps most remarkably, some creatures can regenerate their light-producing chemicals quickly enough to flash repeatedly. A firefly can flash hundreds of times in a single evening, each flash requiring a fresh supply of luciferin and the energy to power the reaction. Understanding the science behind bioluminescence doesn't diminish its magic, it amplifies it. These creatures are living proof that nature is the ultimate engineer, creating solutions that are both beautiful and efficient, functional and artistic, practical and absolutely enchanting. Humans have always been drawn to bioluminescence, first with wonder, then with curiosity, and now with a deep appreciation for what these glowing creatures can teach us. Scientists have discovered that studying nature's light can help us solve some of humanity's greatest challenges. One of the most beautiful stories in bioluminescence research involves a simple jellyfish called Equoria victoria. In the 1960s, a scientist named Osamu Shimomura was studying this transparent jellyfish when he discovered something extraordinary, a protein that glowed green when exposed to certain conditions. He called it Green Fluorescent Protein, or GFP. What Shimomura couldn't have known at the time was that he had discovered what would become one of the most important tools in modern biology. Scientists learned to insert the gene for GFP into other organisms, essentially giving them the jellyfish's ability to glow green. This breakthrough was so significant that Shimomura and his colleagues won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2008. Today, researchers use GFP like a gentle highlighter for life itself. They can tag specific cells, proteins, or even organs with this glowing marker and watch how they behave in living organisms. Cancer researchers use it to track how tumors grow and spread. Neurologists use it to watch how brain cells communicate. It's like giving scientists the ability to see the invisible processes of life. Imagine being able to watch a heart repair itself after an injury, with the new healing cells glowing green as they grow, or observing how stem cells migrate through the body to heal damaged tissue, their path lit up like a gentle green river of healing. This is the kind of research that GFP makes possible. Medical researchers are also exploring how bioluminescence might help us detect diseases earlier. Some scientists are developing ways to make cancer cells glow, making them easier to spot during surgery. Others are working on diagnostic tests that would literally light up in the presence of certain diseases. The efficiency of bioluminescent light has inspired engineers working on better LED technology. By studying how fireflies and other creatures create such efficient light, researchers hope to develop artificial lighting that wastes less energy and lasts longer. Some researchers are even exploring the possibility of creating bioluminescent trees that could light up city streets, or crops that glow when they need water or nutrients. While these applications are still in early development, they represent the kind of sustainable, nature-inspired solutions that could help us create a more harmonious relationship with our environment. Environmentalists use bioluminescent organisms as indicators of ocean health. When bioluminescent plankton populations change, it often signals changes in water temperature, pollution levels, or other environmental factors.
These tiny glowing creatures serve as early warning systems for the health of our oceans. The pharmaceutical industry has found ways to use luciferase enzymes in drug testing. By attaching these light-producing enzymes to different molecules, researchers can track how potential medicines move through the body, literally watching them light up as they work. What's particularly beautiful about bioluminescence research is how it connects art and science. The images created by GFP-tagged cells are often breathtakingly beautiful, like abstract paintings made of living light. Scientists regularly win photography contests with images of glowing brain cells that look like neural fireworks or glowing blood vessels that resemble luminous rivers. This research reminds us that nature has been conducting advanced chemistry experiments for millions of years. Every glowing creature is essentially a living laboratory carrying within its cells the solutions to problems we're just beginning to understand. By studying these natural light makers with respect and wonder, we're not just advancing human knowledge, we're deepening our appreciation for the incredible ingenuity of the natural world. Why we are so mesmerized by natural light? There's something deeply profound about our human fascination with bioluminescence. When people see glowing waves for the first time, or watch fireflies dance in their garden, they often describe the experience as magical, spiritual, even life-changing. Why does natural light move us so deeply? Perhaps it's because light and darkness has always represented hope to humans. Throughout our history, we've associated light with life, guidance, and safety. When we see creatures creating their own light in the vast darkness of the ocean or the quiet shadows of a forest, it speaks to something fundamental in our souls: the triumph of life over darkness, the persistence of beauty even in the most challenging environments. Bioluminescence also represents one of nature's most generous gifts. These creatures don't create light for our benefit, yet their glow brings us profound joy and wonder. When we witness a glowing wave or a firefly's flash, we're being allowed to glimpse into nature's private conversations, the secret languages of light that creatures use to communicate with each other. There's something deeply calming about bioluminescent light. Unlike the harsh artificial lights of our modern world, natural light is soft, organic, and alive. It doesn't overwhelm our senses or strain our eyes. Instead, it invites contemplation and wonder. Watching bioluminescence is like meditation. It draws us into the present moment and connects us with something larger than ourselves. Psychologists have discovered that exposure to natural phenomena like bioluminescence can reduce stress, improve mood, and enhance our sense of connection to the natural world. There's even a term for this: biophilia, which describes humans' innate love of life and living systems. Bioluminescence may be one of the purest expressions of biophilia in action. The rhythms of bioluminescent creatures also sync with our own natural rhythms. Fireflies flash in patterns that somehow feel familiar, like a gentle heartbeat made of light. The waves of bioluminescent plankton pulse with the same rhythm as our breathing when we're relaxed and peaceful. Many people describe encountering bioluminescence as a spiritual experience. There's something about seeing light emerge from living things that reminds us of the sacred nature of life itself. In cultures around the world, bioluminescent phenomena have been interpreted as messages from spirits, signs from the divine, or glimpses into other realms of existence. The impermanence of bioluminescent displays also adds to their poignancy. A firefly's flash lasts only a moment. Glowing waves appear and disappear with each tide. This temporary nature makes each encounter feel precious and unrepeatable, like catching a glimpse of something eternal in a single, fleeting moment. Bioluminescence also represents the democratic nature of beauty in the natural world. You don't need to travel to exotic locations or pay expensive fees to witness it. Fireflies visit suburban backyards. Bioluminescent fungi grow in local forests. Even a simple aquarium can sometimes reveal the glow of tiny organisms. Nature's light show is available to anyone willing to step outside and look with wonder. Perhaps most importantly, bioluminescence reminds us that we are part of something much larger and more mysterious than ourselves. When we see these creatures creating light through processes we're only beginning to understand, we're reminded of how much mystery still exists in our world. In an age when it can seem like everything has been discovered and explained, bioluminescent organisms offer us the gift of wonder. They remind us that the world is still full of magic. Not the supernatural kind, but the deeper magic of life itself, constantly creating beauty and wonder in ways that continue to surprise and delight us. Cultural beliefs and mythologies. Throughout human history, long before we understood the science behind bioluminescence, our ancestors encountered these natural lights and wove them into stories, myths, and spiritual beliefs that still captivate us today. In many coastal cultures, glowing waves were seen as messages from sea spirits or ocean gods. Pacific Island cultures often interpreted bioluminescent lagoons as places where the souls of ancestors gathered to dance. When warriors would paddle through these glowing waters, they believed they were being blessed by the spirits of those who came before them, their boats surrounded by the protective light of their forebears. Ancient Greek sailors told stories of the sea goddess Thetis, who they believed lived in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, surrounded by creatures that glowed like stars. When they encountered bioluminescent jellyfish and plankton, they saw them as Thetis's servants, carrying her divine light through the mortal world of the sea. In Celtic folklore, the soft glow of bioluminescent fungi in forests was attributed to fairy folk. These fairy fires or foxfires were said to mark the paths between the human world and the realm of the fae. Children were often told that if they followed the glowing mushrooms carefully and respectfully, they might catch a glimpse of fairy dancing, but if they were careless or greedy, the lights would disappear, leaving them lost in the dark forest. Japanese culture has beautiful stories about fireflies, which they call hotaru. In Japanese mythology, fireflies are often the souls of departed loved ones, returning briefly to visit the living world. There's a famous tale about a samurai who died far from home, and each summer, fireflies would appear in his beloved's garden, spelling out love poems in light across the evening air. To this day, firefly viewing, hotarugari, is a cherished cultural tradition in Japan, with festivals celebrating these gentle spirits of light. Native American tribes of the Pacific Northwest have stories about bioluminescent organisms being the tears of the sea spirit, weeping tears of joy when the salmon returned each year. They believed that the brighter the bioluminescent display, the more abundant the salmon run would be. In some African cultures, certain bioluminescent beetles were considered messengers from ancestors. When these glowing insects appeared in homes or villages, they were welcomed as bringing guidance and wisdom from those who had passed on. Children were taught to whisper their problems to the glowing beetles, believing their ancestors would hear and provide guidance through dreams. Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime stories include tales of spirit serpents whose scales glowed as they moved through both land and sea, creating the first bioluminescent creatures as they shed their luminous scales. These stories helped explain why certain sea creatures and land creatures shared the gift of natural light. Medieval European alchemists and early naturalists wrote about living light with a mixture of scientific curiosity and mystical wonder. They believed that creatures capable of creating their own light possessed a special connection to the divine spark of creation. Some medieval texts describe bioluminescent organisms as earthly stars, pieces of heaven that had fallen to earth but retained their celestial glow. Caribbean cultures have stories about bioluminescent lagoons being the gathering places of water spirits who would emerge on calm nights to dance on the surface of the water, their movements creating the swirling patterns of light that swimmers and boaters sometimes see. Even in our modern, scientifically informed world, many people still experience bioluminescence with a sense of the sacred. Marriage proposals on bioluminescent beaches have become popular, with couples seeing the glowing waves as nature's blessing on their union. Some people report that encounters with bioluminescence have helped them through difficult times, serving as reminders that beauty and light can emerge even in the darkest places. These cultural interpretations remind us that while science can explain how bioluminescence works, it doesn't diminish the sense of wonder and meaning that humans have always found in these natural lights. Whether we see them as spirits, ancestors, divine messengers, or simply beautiful examples of evolution's creativity, bioluminescent organisms continue to inspire our imaginations and touch our souls. The stories our ancestors told about these glowing creatures weren't just entertainment. They were ways of honoring the mystery and beauty of the natural world, traditions we can still appreciate even as we understand the elegant chemistry behind the glow. Imagining a glowing planet. Let's take a moment to dream together. Close your eyes and imagine what our world might look like if bioluminescence were more common than it actually is. What if evolution had favored glowing creatures in more environments? What if the night revealed a planet painted with living light? Picture walking through a forest where every tree trunk glows softly with lines of blue-green light, like nature's own fiber optic cables running up toward the canopy. Imagine flowers that bloom only at night, their petals luminous and inviting, creating natural streetlights along woodland paths. Moths and butterflies with wings that shimmer with patterns of light, turning nighttime gardens into dance floors of floating illumination. Envision grasslands where each blade of grass holds a tiny spark, so that when the wind blows across the meadow, waves of light ripple like aurora, touching the earth. Picture how a herd of glowing deer might look as they move through such a landscape, their antlers traced with light, their hoof prints leaving brief glowing marks in the luminous grass. What if our cities coexisted with such natural light? Imagine urban parks where bioluminescent trees provide gentle illumination for evening walks, their light soft enough to see the stars above but bright enough to guide your way. Picture bridges spanning rivers filled with glowing fish, their movements creating underwater constellations that reflect on the water's surface. In this imagined world, perhaps birds would have evolved bioluminescent plumage, turning nighttime skies into galleries of flying art. Imagine flocks of migrating birds, their bodies tracing rivers of light across the darkness as they journey between seasons. Consider how this might change our relationship with night and darkness. Instead of fearing the dark, we might eagerly await sunset to see the true beauty of our world revealed. Children might collect glowing pebbles instead of regular ones, and beachcombing would become a treasure hunt for naturally luminous shells and coral. What if some land animals had evolved the counter-illumination that we see in ocean creatures? Imagine horses with glowing bellies that match the moonlight above, making them nearly invisible to predators looking up from below. Or cats with spots that glow softly in patterns unique to each individual, like living fingerprints made of light. In this bioluminescent world, perhaps we would have developed different technologies. Instead of inventing electric lights, we might have learned to cultivate and breed bioluminescent organisms for illumination. Our streetlights might be living trees, our house lights might be colonies of glowing bacteria or fungi that we tend like gardens. Agriculture in such a world would be transformed. Imagine crops that glow when they're ready for harvest, or garden plants that signal their needs for water or nutrients through changes in their bioluminescent patterns. Farmers would tend fields that pulse gently with life, and harvest time would be guided by waves of light moving across the landscape. The ocean in this imagined world would be even more spectacular than it already is. Picture whales with bioluminescent patterns along their massive bodies, turning their migrations into moving light shows visible from space. Imagine coral reefs that pulse with coordinated displays, entire ecosystems communicating through symphonies of light. Perhaps most beautifully, in this world of abundant bioluminescence, the boundary between earth and sky might become blurred on clear nights. With glowing creatures both on land and in the air, the stars above might seem to have descended to dance among us, creating a sense of unity between the terrestrial and the celestial. This imagined world reminds us that the bioluminescence we do have in our real world is a precious gift. Every firefly, every glowing wave, every luminous mushroom is a glimpse into this more magical version of Earth. They're invitations to wonder, to dream, and to appreciate the extraordinary beauty that evolution has already painted across our planet with light. As our journey through the magical world of bioluminescence comes to a close, let's return once more to that moonlit beach where we began. You're standing at the water's edge, watching the gentle waves roll in, each one carrying its cargo of living stars. But now, after our journey together, you see this scene with new eyes. You understand that each flash of light in the water represents millions of tiny organisms, each one a marvel of biological engineering. Each one carrying within its microscopic body the same elegant chemistry that lights up jellyfish in the deepest ocean trenches and fireflies in summer meadows. You know now that this light you're witnessing is older than human civilization, older than our species itself. These organisms have been creating their gentle illumination for hundreds of millions of years, long before there were eyes to see their beauty or minds to wonder at their magic. Take a deep breath of the salt air and let yourself feel grateful for this ancient gift of living light. In a universe that is mostly dark and cold, these creatures remind us that life finds ways to create beauty, to communicate, to persist, and to shine. Thank you, my listener, for spending this quiet moment with me. Until next time, sleep well and stay curious.